Hi everyone, I've come out to the garden today for a summer flow with you. Going to be a nice heart opening one, working on back bends and opening through the front body. So we're going to actually begin lying on the mat. And just make a pillow with your hands. And rest your head in your hands. And just allowing yourself to melt into the mat. Closing your eyes. Facial muscles relax. I want you to just bend your knees, your feet facing up towards the sky, and just rock your feet from side to side. Just allowing your lower back to ease off. Keeping your hips firmly glued down onto the mat. And then release your feet down. And release your hands so your head is on the mat. And we're just going to work on lengthening through the quadriceps. So bend your right knee and wrap your hand around your foot. And just very gently ease your heel towards your glute. And just feeling that stretch through the quadriceps. And just taking a couple of breaths here. Narrowing the gap between your heel and your glute. And slowly release the right foot down onto the mat. Release the right hand down. Now bend the left knee and wrap your hand around the foot again. And just slowly begin to lengthen the left quadricep. Taking a few breaths. And then gently release. So now going to cactus the right arm to open through the pec. So making sure the top of the arm is in line with the shoulder, the forearm is parallel with the head. Tent your left fingertips. Allow your right ear to come down onto the mat and slowly roll on to your right side. And a couple breaths here. Opening the pec. Keeping hips stacked on top of one another. And then slowly release the chest down, repeating the same on the other side. So cactusing the left arm. Come on to the left ear, tent the right fingertips and roll over onto your hip. And a couple breaths here. And with each exhale, just feeling the left pec opening out. Feeling your muscles relaxing further. And then as you exhale, release the chest down onto the mat. Hands below the shoulders. Come into all fours. We're going to come into puppy pose or melting heart pose. So begin to walk your hands forward. And release the forehead down onto the mat. So it's really important here to keep your hips directly above the knees. Armpits surrendering down towards the mat. Feeling your chest open. And feeling your heart opening. Now take the hands below the shoulders. Come into all fours. Sit back into child's pose. And then begin to uncurl the spine as you come up to seated position at the back of the mat. Inhaling, arms overhead, palms together. You're going to take your thumbs between the shoulder blades. So elbows are pointing up towards the sky. Feel a nice stretch through your triceps. Reach fingertips back up towards the ceiling. Take your thumbs to your sternum. And then extend your hands down onto the mat. Inhaling as you ripple through the spine into cat. And drop the hips. Gaze up towards the sky into a gentle upward facing dog. Press into the hands and knees, bring big toes together, make your way into child's pose. And then again, ripple through the spine into cat. And drop the hips down. Gaze up towards the ceiling, gentle upward facing dog. And exhale back into child's pose. Come into your all fours position. Tuck the toes under, straighten the legs, make your way into downward facing dog. It might feel nice just to pedal through the feet. Softening into one knee and then the other. Tilting your sit bones up towards the sky. Opening through the armpits and just allowing the heart to melt towards the mat. As you inhale, lift the gaze. Bend the knees. Take as many steps as you need to come through to the front of the mat. And once you reach the front of the mat, just take a forward fold here. And now begin to inhale, uncurling the spine. Coming all the way up to standing arms overhead. Hands face inwards, keeping your hands shoulder width apart. And just come into a gentle back bend, drawing your hips forward. And as you exhale, begin to fold from the hips, coming back into Uttanasana. As you inhale, come into Ardha Uttanasana, so the torso is parallel with the mat. The biceps are coming towards the ears. Hands are facing inwards, hands shoulder width apart, and just holding this here. Really thinking about those biceps wrapping around the ears. Thinking about that contraction in the upper body. As you exhale, come back into your forward fold. And then sit back into plank. Lower the chest all the way down onto the mat. Hands below the shoulders, elbows tucked in towards the chest. Inhaling in to a gentle cobra. Shoulders away from the ears. Chest open. Opening the heart. Exhale as you melt the torso back down towards the mat. Press into the hands and knees. Come into Balasana, child's pose. Inhale to slowly uncurl the spine, coming to sit back in your heels. This time tuck the toes under. So coming into broken toe pose. Lift the chest, take the arms to shoulder height. And just begin to make tiny circles with your hands. Beginning to create a little bit of heat in the shoulders. Strengthening through the arms. And then begin to make those circles bigger. And then again, even bigger. And then begin to make them smaller again. Trying to avoid hunching your shoulders up to your ears. And then going in the other direction. Just making them small. And then begin to make the circle bigger. And then a little bit bigger from there. So you're creating these really big circles with the arms. And then smaller. And then just tiny movements. And reach the hands up towards the sky, palms together. Take the thumbs down to the sternum. And then release the hands down onto the mat. Release the tops of the feet down on the mat. Make your way into all fours. Cat-cow, exhaling. As you come into cow. And then into cat, really arching through your back, tucking your tailbone under. Continue creating that cat shape, tuck toes under. Lift the knees about an inch off the mat, hold it here for breath in. Exhale, straighten the legs, sink the heels down towards the mat, downward facing dog. Either staying here or creating more heat through the arms by coming into turbo dog. So bending your elbows, taking the arms in the direction of the mat. And just holding it here, trying to make the forearms parallel. So draw your elbows in towards each other. Feeling that strength that you're creating through the arms. Press back into the hands, straighten the arms, lift the gaze, bend the knees. Come through to the front of the mat. Exhale in Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Fingertips reach forward, biceps come towards the ears. The back is flat. Core is engaged. Exhale back into your forward fold. Inhale, uncurl the spine, arms overhead, keeping the hands shoulder width apart. Sink down into Uttanasana, chair pose. Trying to keep the knees and the ankles together. And just working on opening through the chest and strengthening the lower back. Exhale, forward fold. Step back into plank. Lower the chest halfway down towards the mat, using your knees if you need to. And then inhale, coming into a nice upward facing dog, dropping the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, coming into downward dog. And lift the right foot up towards the sky. Draw the knee in towards the nose. Hold it for a breath in. And for your breath out. Another breath in. As you exhale, step the foot through between the hands, drop the back foot down onto the mat. Inhale, reach up into warrior one. Take the hands behind, interlace the fingers. Draw your hands away as you open through the shoulders and open through the chest. Release the hands, fingertips up towards the sky. Exhale, release them either side of the front foot. Swivel on the ball of the back foot, step back into plank. Draw your sit bones up towards the ceiling, downward facing dog. Ripple through the spine back into plank. And then exhale into downward facing dog. Reach the left foot up towards the sky. Knee in towards the nose. Press into the hands as you arch through the back. Scooping the belly in. Breathe in. And breathe out. One more inhale. Step the foot through between the hands, drop the back foot down onto the mat, making sure you're angling that foot in slightly. Press into the feet, warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Hips are facing forward. Hands release behind the back. Interlace the fingers, open through the chest, really drawing your hands away from you. And then release your grip. Fingertips up towards the sky. Hands release either side of the foot. Swivel on the ball of the back foot, step back into plank. Sit bones up towards the sky, downward facing dog. Ripple through the spine back into your plank, shoulders above the wrists. Exhale, downward dog. Lift the gaze, bend the knees. Come through to the front of the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, slowly uncurl the spine. Arms overhead, hands shoulder width apart. Sink down into the knees, Uttanasana. Straighten the legs, Uttanasana, forward fold. Step back into your plank, using your knees if you need to. Lower into Chaturanga Dandasana, half plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Right foot extends up towards the ceiling. Knee comes in towards the nose. Hold it here for a breath in. And a breath out. Inhale. And this time as you exhale, step the foot through, preparing for Virabhadrasana one, warrior one. Reach fingertips up towards the sky. Then release them behind the back. Interlace the fingers, expand through the chest. Staying here for a couple of breaths. Keep reaching those hands behind. Keep dropping shoulders away from the ears. Then take the right shoulder to the inside of the right knee, humble warrior. And release the head down towards the mat. And then release the hands down towards the inside of the foot, walking that foot out slightly. Swivel on the ball of the back foot, drop the knee down towards the mat. Coming into lizard pose, so taking your forearms towards the mat. Opening through the hip. Making sure the knee is pointing in the same direction as the toes. Holding it here for a couple of breaths. And then placing the hands back below the shoulders, straighten the arms, tuck the toes under, lift the back knee off the mat. Coming into three-legged downward dog, so shooting that foot all the way up to the sky. And we're going to come into wild thing from here. So take the right foot towards the outside of the left foot. Press into the left hand, right hand comes up towards the sky. Creating a nice arch through the back. Release the right hand down onto the mat, swivel on the ball of the left foot. Three-legged downward dog, right foot extends up towards the ceiling. Release the foot down onto the mat. Coming back into downward facing dog. Ripple the shoulders above the wrists. Plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left foot comes up towards the ceiling. Knee comes in towards the nose, pressing into the hands, arching through the back. One breath in. Step the foot through between the hands, drop the back foot, drops down, press into the feet, warrior one. Hands release behind the back, interlace the fingers, expand through the chest. Taking a couple breaths here, creating that openness through the shoulders and a slight back bend. Now preparing for humble warrior, shoulder comes to the inside of the knee. Head drops down towards the mat. Making sure you're continuing to press into the outside edge of the right foot, lifting up into the arch of the foot. And then release the hands down onto the mat, walk the left foot to the outside of the mat. Swivel on the ball of the back foot, drop the back knee down, and begin to bend your elbows, taking the forearms in the direction of the mat. And just a few breaths here. Back of the neck is long. Hands below the shoulders, straighten the arms. Tuck the toes under, lift the knee off the mat, press into the hand. Extend the left foot all the way up towards the ceiling. Wild thing, foot comes down onto the mat, so taking it to the outer edge of the left foot. Swiveling on the ball of the right foot, hips drop towards the ceiling, open through the chest. And then release the hand down. Swivel on the ball of the right foot. Extend the left foot all the way up, three-legged downward dog. Drop the foot down onto the mat. Lift the gaze. Bend the knees. Come through to the front of the mat. Exhale in your forward fold. Inhale, uncurl the spine. Palms facing inwards, hands shoulder width apart. Come into a back bend. Fold forward. Now a little chance to take Vinyasa crow pose. So either just staying in your forward fold, or if you want to come into crow pose, place the hands firmly down onto the mat, bend the knees, take the knees to the tops of the arms, and slowly begin to lift your feet off the mat. Holding it here for as long as you can, creating that arch through the back. Slowly drop the feet down, straighten the legs. Uncurl the spine. Hands up towards the ceiling. Warrior 3, shift all the way into the left foot. Start to extend the right leg back. Thinking about hinging from the hips, and if you've got tightness through the hamstrings, just soften into the left knee. Making sure thighs are engaged. Trying to point both hip bones down towards the mat. Slowly begin to bend into the left knee. And then gracefully send the right foot all the way down onto the mat, lowering the back knee down and finding yourself into a low lunge. Gentle back bend here, draw the hips forward, draw the chest back. And draw the gaze back forward. Take your hands behind. Begin to bend the right knee, sending the heel to the opposite buttock, and try and wrap both hands around the foot. Now thinking about this push-pull action. The foot presses into the hands. The hands press into the foot to create an arch through the back, inwardly rotating through the shoulders, dropping the hips down towards the mat. Without pinging that foot, slowly release it. Frame your hands to the foot. Tuck the back toes under, lift the knee off the mat. Step back into plank pose. Send your sit bones up towards the ceiling as you make your way into downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot comes up towards the ceiling. Knee comes in towards the nose. Holding it for a breath in. And a breath out. Step the foot through between the hands, finding yourself in warrior 2 this time. So back foot drops down onto the mat. Press into the feet, lift up here. Palms facing down towards the mat. Gazing towards your right hand. Thinking about peeling that right knee open, activating through the inner thigh, peeling up into your quadricep. Extend the right hand forward. Place a hand to the inside of the foot. Rotate through your shoulder, extending the hand forward. Coming into Uttanasana. Really working on lengthening through the intercostal muscles, into the side rib cage. Release the left hand down onto the mat, swivel on the ball of the left foot, reach the right hand up towards the ceiling. Open through the chest in a twisted runner's lunge. And then release the back knee down onto the mat. Begin to take the heel towards the buttock, and either staying here or wrapping your hand around the pinky toe edge of the foot. Even coming into a slight back bend as you draw the right shoulder back. Keep drawing the heel in towards the buttock, lengthening through the quadricep. Slowly release the foot down, release the gaze towards the mat, and take your hand to the outside of the foot. Back toes tucked under, lift the knee off the mat. Now hop the left foot to meet the right, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, rise up to standing. Arms overhead, keeping your hands shoulder width apart. Now all of the weight shifts into the right foot. Lift the left foot off the mat. Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. Soften into the right knee slightly if you need to. Lift up into the arch of the foot. Activate through both legs, pull up into the thighs. Begin to slowly bend into the right knee, and landing softly, come all the way into a low lunge. Holding it here for a moment, opening through the chest. And then begin to take the heel towards the buttock. Wrap your hands around the feet. And again, creating this push-pull action. Foot into hand, hands into foot. Stretch through the quadricep and open through the chest. Slowly release the foot down. Hands frame the foot. Lift the back knee off the mat, step back into plank. And then come straight into downward facing dog. Lift the left foot up towards the sky. Draw the knee in towards the nose. Pressing firmly into your hands, then step the foot through between the hands. Drop the back foot down, cartwheel the hands and come into Warrior 2. Palms facing downwards. Sink down into the front knee. Peel the front knee open. Activate through the arch of the back foot. Extend the left hand forward. Take the hand to the inside of the foot. Rotate through the shoulder, extending fingertips forward to Tita Parsvakonasana. So again, feeling this real stretch through the side body. Feeling an openness through the hips and an activation through the thighs. One more breath in. Release the right hand down onto the mat, swivel on the ball of the left foot. Extend the left hand up towards the ceiling, twisted runner's lunge. Release the knee down. Kick the heel in towards the buttock. Wrapping your hand around the foot if you can, making sure your hand is around the pinky toe edge of the foot. Try and spiral the left shoulder up towards the ceiling, creating a nice back bend. Now gaze down towards the mat. Release the foot down, release the hand to the outside of the foot, back toes tucked under, lift the knee off the mat. Hop forward into Uttanasana, forward fold. And then exhale here. Come into your Uttanasana chair pose. Fingertips extending up towards the ceiling. Come into Ardha Uttanasana, now torso parallel with the mat. Option of lifting your heels off the mat. Maybe sinking a little bit further into the knees. Engaging through the core. Slowly begin to bend your knees forward further. Release the butt all the way down onto the mat. And come into Navasana. Shins parallel with the mat. Toes pointed. Chest open. And then just release the feet down. Slowly release the back all the way down onto the mat for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands come either side of the hips, making sure your heels are quite close in towards your buttock. You're going to press into your feet and your hands and slowly lift the hips up towards the ceiling, coming into bridge pose, Setu Bandhasana. So we want to think about making sure the thighs are parallel. We're pulling up into the thighs. Lifting the hips further up towards the ceiling. Slowly, bone by bone, release the sit bones down onto the mat. And again, roll through the spine, hips lift up towards the ceiling. Pull up into your thighs, imagining that your thighs are like train tracks, running parallel with each other. Maybe lifting the hips higher, creating a nice arch through the back. And then slowly release the chest down. Slowly release the back down, sorry. One more time, inhaling, lifting your hips up towards the ceiling. Holding it here for a breath in. And then exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae. Release the back down. Hug the knees in towards the chest. Hands come to the backs of the thighs. And just do a couple of spinal rolls here. Making sure you're arching through your back. And then place your hands down onto the mat. Step back into plank. And lower the chest all the way down onto the mat. Sphinx pose, so forearms are parallel. Press into the forearms, slowly lift the chest. Dropping shoulders away from the ears. Tuck the toes under, making your way into a forearm plank, so lifting your hips off the mat and take your gaze towards your belly button. Firming up through your thighs. And then begin to walk your feet forward, drawing your sit bones up towards the sky as we come into dolphin pose. So really working on strengthening through the upper body, working through the shoulders. Press into the hands, straighten the arms. Lift the gaze, bend the knees. Step through to the front of the mat. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale as you uncurl the spine. Arms overhead, this time bringing the palms together. And taking your thumbs to heart center. Inhale, arms overhead. Palms together. And exhale to fold forward. Step back into plank. Hold it here for a breath in. As you breathe out, slowly lower the chest all the way down onto the mat. Setting up for bow pose now. So bending your knees. Wrapping your hands around the feet. Making sure you're flexing your feet. Just creating that nice hook there. So you can either wrap your hands around the feet or the ankles, just depending what suits you. Take one big exhale out through the mouth. And then as you inhale, you're going to press your ankles or your feet into your hands. Lift the chest, lift the thighs off the mat. Continuing to make sure your thighs are parallel. Balancing on your hip bones. Lifting the chest slightly higher, and one more inhale. And then exhale to slowly release. Release the feet down. Creating a pillow with your hands. Rest your head in your hands. Bend your knees, feet up to the sky. And slowly rock from side to side. Just easing through the lower back. And then release the feet down. One more time, setting up for bow pose, so bend your knees. Wrapping your hands around your ankles or your feet. If your hands are wrapped around the ankles, making sure you're flexing your feet. Take one big exhale out through the mouth. And then on your next inhale, press feet into the hands to lift the chest. So again, thinking about this internal rotation through the shoulders. The hands are extending backwards. And chest is open, creating that arch through the back. And then exhale to slowly release. Take the hands underneath the head. Head rests on the hands. And you can even just rock from side to side with the hips. And take the hands below the shoulders. Press into the hands and knees. Make your way in to Balasana, child's pose. And then come to sit back on your heels. And lift the hips up so the hips are directly above the knees. Tuck the toes under. Coming into Uttanasana. So making sure your hips stay above your knees here. You're going to take your hands to your lower back. Press the hips forward. Draw the chest back. Creating that lovely arch through the back. Keeping the chin tucked into the chest for this one. It might feel okay to take your hands towards your heels, but continuing to make sure the hips stay above the knees. Continuing to make sure you're pulling up into your thighs, activating your quadriceps. Hands in front of the thighs, chin tucked in towards the chest. Slowly come back onto your heels, keeping your toes tucked under. Just coming into broken toe pose there. Hands rested on the thighs. Even just closing your eyes to draw inward. Setting up for one more round of Uttanasana, so bring the hips above the knees. Place the hands to the lower back. Draw the hips forward. Draw the chest forward. And then draw the shoulders back. And again, either staying here or placing your hands onto your heels. Creating that lovely back bend. Continuing to draw the hips forward. Engage your quadriceps. Arch through the back. Creating this lovely opening through the thoracic. And then just very slowly make your way to the center. Untuck your toes so the tops of the feet are on the mat. And just rest your sit bones on your heels. Closing your eyes again. And then begin to walk your hands forward. Rest the forehead on the mat. And coming into Balasana, child's pose. Walk your hands over towards the right side, so left hand places on top of the right. And release the forehead down. Feeling that lovely lateral stretch through the left side. And walk your hands back towards the center. And then over towards the left, right hand on top of the left. And release the forehead down. Hands walk back towards the center. Really press into your hands to send the sit bones towards the heel. Take your hands behind, just to release through the shoulders. Forehead rests on the mat. And eyes closed, just taking a few moments. Just enjoying the stillness. Enjoying this inward experience. Walk your hands back forward. Shoulders above the wrists. Swing your feet over to the side and come into Sukhasana, easy seated pose. Close your eyes, rest your hands on your knees or on your thighs. Take the arms overhead, bring the palms together. Allow thumbs to come to the crown of the head, between the eyebrows to the third eye, and to the heart center. And gently bow your head. Om Shanti. And thank you once again for practicing with me. I hope you enjoyed this class, and I will see you next time.